Bienvenidos, aloha, welcome into Sunset Rewind Week 7 preview show. And Howard, we've got a huge game, the Sunset League Championship, basically, to get to in a minute. But first, take a second. If you don't already, you should by now, but if you don't already, follow us on social media at Sunset_Rewind, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and pick up a print copy of the Sunset Rewind magazine at your next home game. Also, Howard, we've got Sunset Rewind hats, limited edition, brought to you by our sponsor, Golden.com. We both picked up our hats last week, and everyone should get one. They're going to sell out, so not everyone will, but everyone should get their hands on one.
I should have wore mine for the broadcast. I didn't think it'd go with the polo, but yeah, go grab a hat. Everybody represent. It'll support high school football, support what we're doing here at Sunset Rewind. So go grab your hat, grab a magazine, support what's going on, and we appreciate everybody for it.
Yeah, half the proceeds of the hat go back to your high school, and half the proceeds go to us, Sunset Rewind. One more thing before we get into our Week 7 preview. Predictions. We started our predictions last week, and Howard, you went a perfect 3-0. I went out on a limb. I trusted maybe a little too much in Dan O'Shea's program and the Sea Kings. I thought they could pull off the upset against Los Al. The Griffins are who we thought they were. Very, very good. And so I'm 2-1 on the season. You're 3-0. We'll continue to track that throughout the year. All right, Thursday night, 7:30 kick at Westminster High School, Los Al, Edison. It's going down. It's the game of the week on Bally Sports. Our friend Kent Bickel and Griffins Radio are going to be calling it. It's the game of the year, really, in the Sunset League, and there's a lot of bad blood between these teams. Both these teams have had it marked on the calendar since the spring season when Los Al won last year 27-20, by far their closest game of the year. Both these teams badly want to beat each other. In fact, some bulletin board material from both Tyler Hampton and Adam Tomczyk earlier this summer. We're like 5-6 weeks out from the start of the 2021 fall season. What are your goals? What are you guys talking about heading into this fall season?
I just want to beat Los Al. That's it. And CDM. But I want to beat Los Al. That's going to be my number one goal this season.
And what was your favorite memory from the spring season?
Smoking Edison.
Well, I remember when I asked Adam Tomczyk that question. He was short and sweet, straight to the point, smoking Edison. That was the best memory. I asked him, is there anything else? Do you want to throw anything else in? He was like, nope, I'm good. So like you said, both of these teams, they've had this game circled on the calendar. They think about it as the Sunset League Championship. They're two league rivals, so it's a big game, and the players are fired up. The fans are fired up. I can't wait to watch it on Thursday night.
Now, Howard, in your playing career at Oregon State or at Long Beach Wilson, did you have a game going into the season or even way before the season started that you had circled that you and your teammates were like, no matter what, we got to get this team?
Absolutely. For a lot of guys at Oregon State or these West Coast schools, Southern California guys usually circle USC. You know, we feel like we didn't get recruited by USC. In our minds, we were good enough to go there, but we didn't get an offer, right? So maybe we went somewhere else. So when you play against SC, you get up for that game. You know, it's your Super Bowl, it's your championship. So, yeah, guys, you know, you have your individual motivations for why you want to beat this team and why you get up for it a little bit more. And we're seeing a little bit of that for sure with Los Al and Edison.
Well, besides the emotional or the spiritual factor of wanting to beat the team, what do you think the keys to the game are for both of these teams? I guess I'll ask you sort of the same question I did last week. Finish the sentence. Los Alamitos wins if what? What's it going to take for the Griffins to win?
Yeah, Los Al wins if, I always say this every week, it comes down to it offensively if they execute. We know the athletes, we know the skill guys that they have, not just the skill guys. They got linemen who are, you know, all league, all CIF, going to college as well. So Los Al just needs to execute and do what they do on offense. It's a high-powered offense. There's no way you can stop all of those guys. So if they take care of business, they're going to be fine. And then on the defensive end, they've got to get pressure on Parker Awad and that Edison offensive line. I know they're going to. They send a lot of bodies at you, and they're long, athletic, strong on the defensive front. So they're going to make it tough for Edison. And if they can do that up front, they'll get Edison uncomfortable, and they'll be able to win the game with ease.
Well, Parker Awad in the first game of the season against Servite, he had no breathing room, and he had his worst game of the season. Last week against the Newport Harbor Sailors, we saw Parker Awad make high-level throws, stepping up in the pocket, going through his reads, throwing on the run. When he had time, Parker Awad looked like up there with the best quarterbacks in Orange County. So I think that's a really good point about getting pressure on him, because he showed us last week what he's capable of.
Well, yeah, Parker Awad, in my opinion, is one of the biggest keys to victory for Edison. He's going to have a big night. I'm talking, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, little to no interceptions. It's going to have to be a close to perfect game. But Edison, they can do it, in my opinion. I mean, the way Parker Awad looked in the pocket, looked comfortable in the offense, went through his reads, ad-libbed as necessary. He's such a great thrower that you might not think he's as athletic as he is. So Parker Awad's going to have a big game for this Edison offense to get going. The O-line, for that to happen, the O-line's going to have to block. I do believe that the Los Al front seven's going to get after it. So Parker Awad might be on the run when he's throwing the ball, but he's got to give the Edison receivers, and we know they've got a ton of them, and that's why they're tough. They got a ton of receivers, and they have to have time to get open, because the Los Al defensive backs, I mean, we list them every week. Mekhi Lemon, Ethan O'Connor, DeAndre Moore, Isaiah Dorsey, Kevin Longstreet. These guys they're tough. These guys are tough, and it's not going to be easy to get open against them. So when the quarterback's pressured, the defensive backs are tight, it makes it tough on your offense. So Parker Awad's going to have to scramble around, going to have to find his receivers and thread the needle. But Edison, they've got a chance with what they bring on offense.
Yeah, they've got the best chance of anybody in the Sunset League, obviously, to beat Los Al. And outside of Santa Margarita, they might be the one other team that can do it. So if I asked you that question, Edison wins if what? Would you say the key to the game is Parker Awad?
Yeah, Edison wins if Parker Awad goes off for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I didn't even mention the defense. Guys like Austin Gerbic, Logan and Peyton Gregory. These are guys that are a huge part of stopping the run, making it uncomfortable for the other team's offense. So Edison had a big game last week. They got a lot of pressure, a lot of sacks against Newport Harbor. If they can get Malachi Nelson off of his soil, make him think about the rush and the pressure, that's going to be huge for them as well, because you got to find a way to get them uncomfortable and not let Los Al just execute the way they want.
And I think when you're talking about Parker Awad having a big game, it means that he's being protected and the Edison offense is fully loaded, clicking like we've seen it do at times this season. So it's not necessarily all on his shoulders, but I think the key, like you said, is that Edison offense getting going. So, Howard, in our preseason show, you picked the Edison Chargers to win league over the Los Al Griffins, and the Griffin faithful, they haven't let you stop hearing about it every time we step on campus. Who are you going with in your prediction for this Thursday night game?
I don't want to seem like I'm trying to hedge my bet and split the difference here, but I'm going to just come on here and keep it real. I know I picked Edison to win league. I love Edison. I love everything they do. I can't believe all the weapons that they have, how well coached they are. I love everything about them. But for this individual game, I got to go with the Los Alamitos Griffins. There's just too much firepower on offense. There's so much talent on defense. They're a well-coached group. They're coming together at the right time. They're playing together. I don't know how anybody beats Los Al. I'm taking the Griffins to win this game.
Well, I'm not going to do anything to win points with the Los Al faithful, because I'm going to flip on my preseason prediction where I picked the Griffins, and I'm going to take another gamble here. And I'm going to pick the Edison Chargers because I know how much this game means to them. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean something for Los Al, but this game, talking to people around Los Al and coaches, they're saying the reason that they might be scared, the Griffins might be nervous about this game, is because they know how much Edison cares about it. They know they're going to get, Los Al's going to get everyone's best game, but they're really going to get Edison's best game. So I've been so impressed with Coach Jeff Grady, his squad, the program they run there, the tradition, and I'm going to go with the Chargers in the upset, and I'm going to really hear it from all the Los Al Griffins if I'm wrong, and I'm going to keep digging myself in a hole with their fan base, but I'm picking the Chargers in this one, and it's a gamble, but I'm going with it.
I like it.
So Los Al Edison, our lone Thursday night game in the Sunset League this week. Friday night lights back on at Davidson Field. The Sea Kings, Corona Del Mar, look to bounce back from last week's loss to Los Al. They host the Huntington Beach Oilers. Sea Kings coming in 5-1, HB at 4-2. And we talked to head coach of the Oilers, Brett Brown, asked him what's it going to take for the Oilers to pull off the upset against CDM. Here's what he had to say.
We got to match their intensity, their physicality. I mean, It's funny because I was just texting with Coach O'Shea. I'm like, I know you guys had a tough one, but holy cow, you're physical and you guys fly around. I mean, that's really not an indication of who they are. We're not going to look at that score and think that they're not a good football team, because that'd be stupid.
Well, Coach is exactly right. Physicality with this CDM team is mandatory because they're going to run right at you. Even though they've got a dynamic passing game, they're going to want to run right at you with Evan Sanders and Charlie Manning. And so you're going to need the usual suspects we always talk about for Huntington Beach: Jeff Hagedorn, E.J. Riedrich, Eli Anderson, Nate Tawanu'u. These guys, they're going to have a big night. They're going to have to blitz and make it tough on David Razor, and they're going to have to bottle up the run game if they're going to want to have a chance to contain CDM. And then offensively, in terms of physical play, those 5 offensive linemen for Huntington Beach, they're going to have a lot on their shoulders. CDM, they're a physical group. They're going to come right at you on defense. They're going to send extra bodies in a blitz. So A.J. Perez is going to have time to throw, and it's going to come down to the 5 offensive linemen giving him protection.
Well, as Huntington Beach's head coach Brett Brown says, we got to play physical to play with CDM. Coach Dan O'Shea said the same thing about his team. How do they bounce back from the loss to Los Al?
We need to reestablish the line of scrimmage that we lost in Alamitos High School. We thought we've done a good job of that all year. The first 5 games is control the line of scrimmage, to be able to run the football, pass the football, and defend the running game. And that is our number one focus.
Howard, I'm really excited about this game. Storylines in this game that stand out to me. This is finally what we've been waiting for with Huntington Beach. We've been following their program since the offseason. We were at the Surf City passing tournament. We got to see their staff, their players, their parents. Everyone's talking about, wants to know if the Oilers can make that leap up into the top 3 in the Sunset League. Well, this is a real chance to do it on Friday night against the Sea Kings at Davidson Field. So we finally get to see HB take a swing, and we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to finding out who the Oilers are. I've been saying it for weeks, and we'll get to find out on Friday night.
You're exactly right. This game is going to tell us a lot. It's going to tell us who Huntington Beach is as a program. It's going to tell us where they are, maybe not as a program, but as this 2021 team. Who are they? We've seen them win some games where they were favored. They won some games in a lopsided fashion. Then on the other hand, gave a couple of games away late. They were in some games, just couldn't hang on and let it go in the second half. So have they come together, and learned how to win some of those tight games? And this is going to be a step up in competition. This is a tough Sunset League opponent. They've beat up on some really talented teams in the preseason. So we're going to find out exactly what the trajectory is for this Huntington Beach team, and if they're going to be able to get in the top 3, make the playoffs. It's going to decide a lot for them.
And meanwhile, for CDM, this is a chance for them to get back on the horse. They might only end up with 1 loss on the season, and it might be to an eventual CIF champion, Los Al. So this is a chance for CDM to get back on the horse and continue their reign as one of the top 3 or top 2 teams in the league. Yeah, they still have to play Edison, but this is a chance for CDM to sort of get back to their winning ways as a program.
Absolutely. And CDM, they can still get a piece of that Sunset League title, just depending on what happens with Los Al Edison. So they've got to take care of their business. But CDM is they're not looking past anybody in Sunset League, but they are thinking about the playoffs. They're thinking about seeding. What division are they going to be in? Are they going to be a high seed? And getting a win against Huntington Beach, maybe a dominant win, that's just going to help their resume and their campaign as they push towards the Sunset League title possibly and the postseason. So a lot at stake for Huntington Beach. A lot at stake for Corona Del Mar. And like you said, they need a big bounce back win after the loss last week.
Predictions, Howard? Who are you going with?
Predictions, I want to see a shootout. I'm hoping Huntington Beach can put a lot of points on the board with that offense that they have. I also want to see David Razor, get back to who he is and put a bunch of points on the board. I think ultimately Corona Del Mar is going to win the game, and they're going to look pretty good doing it.
I agree. I'm going with the Sea Kings. If there was a year for HB to make that leap, this is the year. I love their mix of talent. They're playing really well. And, of course, I love A.J. Perez. He was a dark horse candidate for me to win league MVP. If he's going to do that, if he's going to have a shot at that, he's got to pull off the upset against CDM. That being said, I am going to ride with the Sea Kings as my pick this week. Third and final game in the Sunset League, Friday night at Capshew Field. The Newport Harbor Sailors on the road, taking on Fountain Valley. Both teams 1-5 on the season. And the way the season's been going for both of these teams really might be the only shot at another win on the year. That being said, I think Harbor dominates this game, regardless of who's playing quarterback for them. I know we're expecting to see senior A.J. Gutron Moore, sort of a surprise start at QB there for the Sailors. But I think regardless of the records of these two teams, I think the Sailors dominate.
Well, the Sailors better dominate because they feel like we didn't win a lot of preseason games, but we could still go, 4-1, 3-2 at least in Sunset League. That's what they're thinking inside their locker room, right? They have to keep their energy up. They have to keep their confidence up. So a game against Fountain Valley, you've got to go up and dominate. Absolutely run your offense to show that we can execute. We can pick up yards. We can pick up first downs at will. That's what Newport Harbor has to do this game. This is a must-win for them because the way the season sets up, they've got Fountain Valley, then they've got Huntington Beach, then they've got Corona Del Mar. They're looking at those as 3 must-win games. The competition gets tougher every week. They've got to start out with a big win against Fountain Valley for their confidence. And as you said, they're breaking in a new quarterback this week. So it'll be important for him to find some success and establish his presence within the offense.
I think at the same time for Fountain Valley, they look at Newport Harbor as a team that's on the ropes a little bit. And if they want to have a chance, not even to win, but to start to see some progress, to start to see some tangible results from what head coach David Gutierrez is doing, they see this week as a major opportunity for that.
Well, they have to because, like you said, if they're going to get a win in the Sunset League, in their mind, it's got to come against the 1-5 Newport Harbor Sailors. It's a team that can't get right. They've been struggling. If you're Fountain Valley, you got to be licking your chops saying, this is our opportunity. And as you said, maybe they don't win the game, but can they look competitive? Can they look good on film? Can they put some stuff on tape that their offense can feel good about? So it's a big game for Fountain Valley, really big game.
Newport, common opponent between Newport and Fountain Valley, Marina High School. Newport beat Marina 44-14. Marina beat Fountain Valley 40-17. So just looking at that, I know that doesn't tell the whole story, but just looking at that, I'll go ahead and make my prediction. I do think Newport wins this game in a big way and finally looks like the Sailors team we expected them to look like since week 1 against Yorba Linda.
Well, I'm still expecting more out of Harbor. I'm expecting them to be better than we've seen thus far, and so I agree with you. I'm looking at Newport Harbor to win this game and probably win pretty convincingly. They need it for the rest of their season, so that's my prediction. And but I hope Fountain Valley gets going and can find some success as well.
Well, I can't wait for Thursday night. I can't wait to see what happens with Los Al Edison. The eyes of the Southern California high school football world are going to be on the Sunset League this Thursday. And then we got 2 good games on Friday night. So week 7, continuing to roll along, continuing to have fun, exciting games for us here in the Sunset League. And Howard will continue to track our predictions. You're 3-0. I'm 2-1. We'll see where we stand after this weekend. Thank you all for tuning in. Follow Sunset Rewind on social media at Sunset_Rewind. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, buy a magazine, buy a hat, support what we do because we love supporting local high school football. So for all of the players, parents, and coaches in the Sunset League, for all our viewers who tuned in, for my broadcast partner, Howard Kroom, this is Alex Crawford saying from the 405 to PCH, from Saddleback to the Pacific Ocean, you've been watching Sunset Rewind. Thanks for tuning in.